How's my hair now? Is that all right? It's acceptable. Hello, my name is Solorzano, and I work for Akai Professional. I'm here today to give you a good rundown on the MPC-X and on the MPC-LIVE. Just to go over, here's a brief history on the MPC. We first released the MPC-60 in 1988. Since then, hundreds of records were released in the 90s and early 2000s based around people using the MPC. The last MPC standalone that we created was the MPC-5000, discontinued in 2012, and that's really when we saw a big era of the DAW step into place. We saw great programs like Pro Tools and Ableton and Cubase really come into light. Now, we can take all of today's modern technology and put it right back into the same gear that people really made some of the best records known to man. 2017, this year, we released the MPC-X and the MPC-LIVE. Just to give you some minor details, some things that will let you know what you can do with this. 10.1-inch multi-gesture touchscreen, a 16 touch capacitive Q-Link controls with OLED displays. So that's this whole section right over here where you can go ahead and change throughout the session the screen from the BPM to how many bars you're using. You can use this for effects or really all types of things. It's thoroughly mapped throughout the program. You have phantom power built in with 2 combo jack mic inputs, metering for direct recording, and quick access shortcut controls to make your workflow simpler and more creative. So the whole thing's built like a DAW, like a computer, but it's really intended for just music creation, really capitalizing on what it means to just produce. On the back side of the MPC-X, here we'll see all the connections. So I mentioned the 2 combo jack XLR inputs. You also have balanced 1/4-inch inputs, RCA phono ins, and high Z inputs in the front. So you could plug in a guitar, you could plug in a record player, you could plug in a digital piano or microphone. 8 balanced 1/4-inch outs, headphone out, and 1/4-inch outputs. Then you have 8 CV gate outputs, so you can actually use this for synth mods. And you have 2 MIDI in and outs. 2 USB Type-A utility ports. Now these utility ports can be used for as big of a hard drive as you may want to connect, or you could even bus power MIDI controllers directly in. A 2.5-inch SATA disk drive slot, and we haven't found any limitation for memory, and an SD card slot up to 64 gigs. Your USB Type-B output is used to use in controller mode with MPC 2.0 or run that as a plugin in any DAW. On to our next slide right over here before we get really hands-on and deep into this. The MPC-LIVE, the baby brother of the MPC-X. So here are some of the differences. Instead of a 10.1-inch screen, we have a 7-inch multi-gesture screen. Still the same quality, still the same operating system behind it, but a different body. 4 touch capacitive Q-Link controls, so instead of the 16 that we saw on the X, we have 4, but we can still bank them over with the Q-Link button that we see at the top right. This also contains up to 6 hours of lithium-ion battery charge, which is the super exciting thing about the MPC-LIVE. You can literally take this piece with you anywhere, whether you're in the beautiful mountains of Wisconsin or on the beaches in California, wherever you go. You could go ahead and make a beat, plug in your headphones, and drive. And this thing weighs 6.5 pounds. So very lightweight, very portable, and it's easy to use, as we'll get into in a second. On the back of the MPC-LIVE, you'll see 6 balanced outs and a headphone output, 2 balanced inputs and 2 phono inputs, a Kensington lock to keep things secure to the table in case you're in a vibrant environment, 2 MIDI ins, 2 MIDI outs, the same 2 USB Type-A utility ports, SATA disk drive slot, SD card, and the USB Type-B output. So you're seeing a lot of the same connections that you see on the X. You don't see the mic preamps, but you could always plug in a mic pre. So there's different ways to get around for both types of things. It all depends on who you are, what you're doing, what you like. But really, what's under the hood? What's more about the MPC? Let's get hands-on on it. Let's have some fun. This is the first screen that you see when you load up the MPC-X or the Live. Like as I said, they both have the same operating system. So you're going to see basically the both screens. But I'm going to just demo mostly off the MPC-X for now. Here you'll see all types of genres. You'll see anything from trap to deep house, pop, clip launching, and even recording audio tracks. Right now I'm just going to go to Empty Project and start from scratch. A few things you need to understand about MPC. There's sequence, track, and program. With sequence, you can control the BPM, how many bars you're using, where's your start and end points. Your sequence can be a full song, or each sequence could be a separate section of a song. It could be your intro, your chorus, your verse, or it could be just a full 64-beat song if you want it to be, however way you design your music. Track is going to be the different layers within that sequence. So track 1 could be keys, track 2 could be drums, track 3 could be bass. And you could do 144 tracks in total. 8 of them can be stereo audio tracks, and the rest are MIDI instrument. Program is basically assigning a sound to that track. Are you going to play drums on track 1? Are you going to play keys on track 1? What sound are you going to use at the time? Now I'm going to flip over to all of our sound banks in our browser window. If I hit the browse button right over here, it'll jump me right into our directory. And with our directory, it'll go from alphabetical order, A through Z. And it'll give me an audition where I could even control the volume and see what's going on there. So right now, you're just seeing a few acoustic kits. But then we'll jump right into some chill trap and load up a few as I go. And you'll see all types of kits, from hip hop to just straight different melody lines, R&B, yes, trap, all types of stuff. But right now, I just loaded up this chilled trap kit 4. I love this kit, I love these samples, but some of them are just too long for me. So if I go into my edit sample window, I could go and use this drag endpoint and make this a nice one-shot sample. I'm going to do the same thing across the board. Having this touch screen, you can't underestimate it in the creation workflow. It makes things a lot simpler and easier to use. You could just grab the audio, move it around, and put it where you want it to be. We all use smartphones every day, so it really just makes a lot of sense once you jump right into it. Now, if I wanted to, I could start recording and start making a little beat real quick. So I'm going to show you really how I would get something going. I already have this in 88 BPM. It's my favorite right there. I'm going to put my metronome on record with the 1/8 rate shake, and I'm going to get it started. So right now we have a 4-bar loop of just this melody line playing on track 1. And if I switched over to track 2, I could jump in my drums. So that's track 1, that's track 2, done in literally like 3 minutes. Then I could take a bass line, right? And I could split that. I could tune that same bass note throughout the whole pads, and now add some cool cool layers into it. So now I have a little bit of change in that tone. Went down 4 semitones in that last 2 bars. And that's like really what people have been doing since the 1990s. They've been just layering this thing down, and now we can do it with the touch screen. Okay, that's great, but what else can we do? What else is this amazing unit capable of doing? Not that that's not fun and cool and creative, but if I wanted to, I can plug in my guitar and be able to record a guitar line right on top of that. I could multiply that out into 32 bars if I want to and configure different things, take things out, move things around, create your compositions. Some other fun tools that I can use besides just making cool beats is messing around in a whole different genre of sound, like clip launching. With clip launching, instead of playing samples, you're playing a loop. So I'll show you. I'm going to go to a new sequence, an unused sequence, and I'm going to speed up our BPM, get more of a faster drum beat kind of thing going on. So when I put this track in clip mode, it allows me to see that clip program I loaded up just in a minute. All the reds are going to line up as drums, and all the greens are going to be bass. The purple will be melodies, and the blues are vocals and percussion. So check this out. This is just playing a loop. Here's another drum loop. Right? Here's a bass line. Here's another bass line. Let's play. Clip launching is really popular in the whole EDM scene of things. You can essentially take a loop and put it in a pad and then change that loop on the fly. People will take clip launching and use it live on stage. And it turns out to be some really cool and exciting, fun music to make. And you could put in your own clips in there, and you could download other people's clips if you want to. You could even take a song that you've already made and stem it out and put it in here and remix it on the fly, I should say. So that's clip launching, something that was beforehand only in a program on the computer, now being put in a standalone unit. Now, what else can we do? Because there's a few tools in here where you start combining them, and you get some really cool creative stuff. So like, I have that clip launching scene still going. Here's an XY effects screen. So I could insert this effect onto this channel. And use it to control and manipulate the sound. I see you getting excited about that one over there. There's a high pass filter. This is a low pass filter. So it's a really cool conversion tool in clip launching, or maybe just adding effects into one of your channels. It could be anything, whatever you see fit. Now that's clip launching, that's XY effects pattern. I'm going to show you something that a true musician, true core to the bone, is going to truly appreciate. There's instrument mode built inside of here. So instrument mode is not just a sample in a pad or a loop in a pad, but more so an instrument where you could play notes, chords, different progressions, different scales and modes. So right now, Let's load up this classic house piano sound. And these waveforms are big. So if I put this in instrument mode, now this instrument is basically layered throughout the pads. It's still in 16 mode. That's cool. It's a piano roll. I could even plug in my MIDI controller, my keyboard, and use that to control this sound. But if I jump into pad perform mode, that's where it gets really exciting. Pad perform mode will allow me to see this instrument laid out in whatever key, mode, or octave I want. So right now I'm in the key of C, major scale, right? Let's jump that to, let's say, E minor, maybe 2 octaves below in pentatonic. Really interesting, really awesome music theory built inside this box. And so now I could go from playing with notes to playing with the same chords. And you could change that note progression from 1-3-5s to 1-4-5s to 1-2-5s to 1-3-5-7s. So you could get really, really deep and in scale for somebody who has that appreciation, or even somebody learning and just messing around. It's an easy way to be able to stay in tune, stay in key, and work the instrument. So now that we have gone through some of these tools that are built inside here, let's really have some fun. So I'm going to go and load up from my own personal hard drive a session that I was working on. This is me taking a Frank Sinatra sample from a song called My Way, chopping it up a little bit, putting in a hip-hop beat, but then morphing that, changing it around, and making it more into EDM sound. So I'll show you here this in just a second. All right, check it out. So I'm just going to let this beat ride for a second, but then I'm going to slowly pull out the hip-hop beat. And I'm going to turn up the BPM at the same time. I'm going to bring out the hi-hat and launch a clip. And so that was a short example of how I'm able to take a sample, whether you recorded it or grabbed it from a USB drive, throw it in here, chop it up, make a little simple beat off of it, and totally morph it into some really cool, exciting, new kind of sound. And that's just one example. There's many different ways that you can use the same tool. It all comes down to the user. I've had people using it from hip-hop and EDM, but I've also had people using this as backing tracks for their rock band. I've had people use it for making a sequence for one song, and on the next song, they're going to go out and play their next backtrack, and it makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. It all depends on the type of artist that you are and what your application is. It's a tool. It depends on how you use it from there. Are there any questions thus far on this unit? Everything making sense? Good. Well, let me show you a few other things that you could do. There's this thing called a step sequencer on here. I don't know if you guys ever messed with a step sequencer before, but it's a lot of fun. I'm going to go to a brand new sequence, change our BPM up. Now with the step sequence, essentially, you can take a kit, and you could program where those steps are going to be for each tone directly. So I'm going to say this kick drum I want on every first bar. Let's go to a brand new sequence if we don't mind. This kit we'll take to a hole right over there. So that's our simple 4 on the floor step sequence. Let's go to our next pad. I'm going to program some snare hits. Our next pad's going to be some hi-hats. And so essentially, I'm using the pads and the screen to be able to program a sequence. Instead of playing it live, I can now say, hey, I want this drum beat to land on this note, and I want this hi-hat to land on this note, and etc. with the snare, melody hits, whatever. That's really another fun way to go ahead and build up a step sequence. Another thing that Jab built inside here is a looper. So for the singer-songwriter guy, or maybe the guy doing some crazy vocal stuff, or trumpet player, you never know, they could be able to plug in their microphone or plug in their instrument and be able to overdub and play, say, a 4-bar rhythm track, throw that in a pad, play their 4-bar lead track, throw that in another pad, play a drum beat right on top of it, doing this live on stage or in their bedroom, whatever they want to do. So it all comes down to the musician and how they really want to utilize this product. Depends on who you are and what you want to do. This guy, I really want to express that it's not just a beat machine anymore. It's really almost like a DAW in a box. You could record full-on audio tracks up to an hour long if you want to. You can make MIDI instrument tracks, full-on compositions. Really, the possibilities are endless. You could change time signatures in different places or different BPMs in different areas. And you could really get as creative as you can think of and still use it with your computer system today. So that's really going to be the end of my presentation, folks. But thank you very much for listening. I appreciate your time.